Welcome to today's video, guys. I got to admit, I was a scumbag. I didn't film yesterday, so I'm behind on a video, so I'm filming the same day. Why are you giving me that look?
Scumbag is like a very aggressive word.
I don't know, I hate myself when I don't film a video. But anyway, we are headed to the shop. I thought I would give you guys kind of a major update. We have the new engine that we are going to be running for FD this year. We have 2 of these being put together, and there's a lot of exciting bits inside. But the reason I'd say that things have kind of been all over the place, and you know, the projects haven't been where I want to be lately. Johan's allergies were really bad, so we weren't doing anything on the R34. He was resting up. Then we had the clutch issues on the Barra, which we were waiting on. But more than anything, I know I told you guys some info on the shop, and I've been alluding to this a lot. Colette, can you tell them that it will be worth it? Would you agree?
Yes.
We were at the new shop today, and she found an otter, and it's like all she'll talk about. She's been like looking up otter things, and she's buying rocks and fish for the otters. And
yeah, we have to rescue another otter. So if the other otter has a friend, and they're gonna have otter babies, and then we're gonna make an otter house. Yeah, it's a whole thing.
So
I'm excited.
The shop now, like if you thought it was good, it's got otters, so that's cool. But anyway, we did get confirmation from one of our lenders that we now have a letter of commitment. So that basically means if we decide to go with this lender, everything's good to go, and then we'll just enter a 30-day closing period. So I think we're waiting to hear back from one other lender, and then I'd say comfortably by next week, we'll be able to enter that 30-day closing period. So a little over a month from now, we could potentially be in a new shop. So worth it? All right, this thing needs to get sold though, so if you want to buy it, help me fund my new shop and buy my RS6 Avant 1 of 25 Nagaro Blue. Very fast, very cool. Colette's favorite car ever?
Yep, please buy it.
Wagons are cool, but one thing this thing desperately needs is some sort of like storage compartment section thing, because whenever you drive the car, you just hear the things going, and like she'll put like 5,000 water bottles in the back. I'll hit the brakes, and I'll hear like thud, 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 thud.
Water bottles are all you.
What is this?
Your
this
stuff.
is some. You got some Ricer explaining to do.
No, explain yourself. Whose name is on this package?
Yeah, whose name is on this package? Colette. You want to play this game? You want to criticize my vinyl wrap? I'll criticize your shopping selection. What is it? Pickles and Pop-Tarts?
Pickles, yogurt, Pop-Tarts, and fruit bowl. Yeah.
I can put a fruit bowl right now. Before we get into S15 stuff today, Mike actually filmed some stuff that was going on yesterday with Chris and Johan, dealing with the jig, some display stuff. So I'm gonna put that section in here, and they'll bring you back up to speed in the present.
With this jig, now that Johan's back, Johan's going to be building the manifold for us, and these are the actual collectors that we're going to be using. The one that I had was just the V-band that was on it before to show basic placement of where I wanted the turbo, but now that he's here, he could take what I had mocked up and kind of use this so he can find the routing of every runner and etc. So he's building a jig. Are you going to build off of this one?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'll set this on my plate, and so it keeps it all without warping. And then build all the runners, and then I'll use another V-van to find the location on this collector. And since it already comes with a cutout right there, that's why I'll put like a alignment point on the V-van that I will use so that the location is the same. So when I take out all the runners for welding, it's in the same spot.
Another thing that's good with having this collector versus just doing the V-band, since we're going to go dry sump, we're going to have a motor plate here, and the mount will be out of the way, so we'll actually have all of this room to build off of, and using the collector and being able to angle it over. The one that I built was just completely flat to show kind of a relative placement of where we want it, and this is going to be more like the final angle. Since you can clock a turbo, you can kind of point this in whichever direction you want, but doing it this way, you were talking about as well, if we run bolts on the top, nuts down below, whenever we have to take this out, and take the bolts off, loosen the nuts, and instead of having worried about it being so close out here, now that it's angled, you can just lift it straight up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some people will say, oh, you know, that's could be bad for the head studs or head bolts on the top if we run bolts, because it's always better to run studs because less chances of you messing up the head. The way you put it on, you just leave the bottom nuts loose, you slide it on, then the bottom nuts will hold it in place. You screw in the bolts on the top. When they're all in, then you crank them down and tighten it. Less chances of you messing up the threads.
And you're able to do it with this type of flange because the lower mounts are all slotted.
Yeah.
Some manifolds, they're full holes, so you actually do have to remove it outward and then take it out. But with this one, with them being slotted, you can actually take the top bolts out and then just lift it straight out of the way.
Back to the present, thought I'd give you a little Evo carpet update. Taking it out was definitely the move, and Schulman has this urine spray that we spray on it, and that seemed to do pretty good, but I wanted to be a little overkill. So I put a bunch of coffee on it, and then right after I put the coffee on it, Schulman started telling me the coffee stains.
I tried.
After I did it, you watched me pour it. You watched me pour it on it.
You were committed, so I wasn't gonna let you do it. Whatever.
Well, I figure I would rather it smell like coffee than all the other stuff it's been smelling like. But now he's got me worried that it's gonna be stained brown. So back to ground one. I guess you're supposed to put the coffee, like baking soda, like in a bag so it absorbs the smell and not rub it around in the carpet.
I hope you like your carpet looking like coffee instead of smelling.
You like it's dark?
To be fair, like I'm not gonna do this, but I could always just put a floor mat over the carpet. I could just cut this whole entire section out and just put one of those little carpet pieces, and you would never know.
Paint the freaking white black.
Watch it on eBay. I could buy a whole new carpet for like $100, and I've been wasting like 3 weeks on this. It appears as if we might be safe, guys. Maybe it only stains with hot coffee. I think we'll be all right. Stay tuned. Looks like it didn't stain. I did decide to rip up all this like kind of insulation that was on the bottom of the carpet. Might give us a little bit more noise, but I think that was just really trapping a lot of the smelly stuff. So hopefully by ripping that out, we'll be looking better than we were before. So I'm pretty sure that I've told you guys that Freddie's been in charge of the engine program this year, and him and his friend Mike have been putting the engine together down in South Florida. Now I'm going to show you that engine today and we'll talk more in detail, but Freddie did manage to get a couple clips while he was assembling, so I'm going to put those clips in now. Freddie, any comment?
It's an engine?
You weren't supposed to talk. Legs don't talk, Freddie.
Don't talk. Oh, okay.
Stick it in. Down it goes. Then you torque your rod bolts to specification. For these bolts, it's 70 foot-pounds. You want to be between 6.3 and 6.7 thousandths on the stretch. We're at 6.5 thousandths. BC 3-liter lightweight crankshaft with Real Street billet mains, ARP 625 main studs, and ARP 625 rod bolts with BC H-beam rods. On the top side, we have custom Bill Miller engineering pistons. They're made for our application with our specifications. These are gas ports which aid in ring seal. It lets the combustion gases go behind the ring and push the ring against the wall and get a better seal. It does wear out the ring quicker, but that's fine. This is not a road car. Here's a cylinder head. It's a brand new Toyota casting that Titan Motorsports sourced for us. It's full of all BC goodies. The machine work was done at Extreme Cylinder Head in Palm City. We have SuperTech shimless buckets that are DLC coated. Head saver washers, which stops the head from deforming under high loads. And the head studs get loose from that. Yeah.
All right, guys, the new engine is officially here, and you can see it right here. Now, right off the bat, one thing that I do want to say, because I know it's been a common subject that we've been talking about, this will be dry sump. However, for testing purposes, to allow the most amount of time to try the new setup, we actually are going to be running this one wet sump. We do have 2 full dry sump kits coming because we're going to have 2 fully dressed motors this season, but we just won't have time to adequately install everything and be able to test, since installing all the dry sump stuff is going to take a substantial amount of time. So we're going to test this engine with the wet sump, get some data. Is there anything else that we're trying to figure out? Like, it's mainly just turbo setup and if we like the 3.0, right?
The 3.0, the RPMs, the direct port nitrous. Make sure everything's happy. After we do some testing, Mike will tear the motor down apart see if anything has abnormal wear, or see where we can improve, whether it be like the dyno sheet or driver preference.
So this is kind of the preliminary setup, but as you guys already know, the biggest change that we've made this year, we went down to Brian Crowler's 3-liter lightweight crank versus the 3.4. We're hoping to have an engine that's a little bit happier up in the higher RPM range. So everything's kind of geared around that. The head is made to suit a higher RPM range. The turbo is made to suit a higher RPM range. And having a smaller displacement crank allows us to rev a little bit higher and keep everything happy. Other than the Brian Crowler 3.0 crank, we've got Brian Crowler rods. We actually have a cool custom piston that you guys saw in Freddie's clip, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Brand new head casting from Titan that we got CNC ported. And in the head, shimless buckets, kind of similar to last year. We got some special sauce going on, Frere valve train, BC cams, oversized valves, nothing super crazy. I don't know if I said shimless buckets, but shimless buckets. Any
Shimless buckets?
versus what, fake shimless buckets?
Yeah, where they have like
The shim underneath?
yeah, the shim underneath with like a locator.
That's not shimless.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess. All the buckets are one size, and the valve tips got grinded to set the lash, which is cool. That way all the buckets are the same in case we need to service the motor and they all fall out. At least they're kind of like the same, like worst case scenario.
What's the target RPM with this engine?
We're gonna spin it to 9.
Versus last year we were like 8?
8, sometimes 8,200 if you push through the ignition cut you had.
What I'm excited about is everyone's been telling me the dry sump will actually make it feel like a bigger engine because it will kind of add horsepower naturally. How much do you think that'll make it feel like? Do you think it'll make it feel like a 3.2?
No, but like it's gonna pull a vacuum in the crankcase, so the piston won't have to fight the resistance of the air. And I don't know how much it'll add, but we'll see, because we'll test this and then put the dry sump on and test that, and we'll see like what it gains in the power band and stuff.
Everyone's been telling me like 60, 70 wheel just from the dry sump.
Oh wow.
I don't know if that's actually gonna be the case, but if it is, that'd be pretty cool to be able to see
I don't
it
want to say a
back to
number
back.
and then be wrong, so we'll see what it does.
Well, anyway, it's pretty fancy. Mike, can I steal you for a second?
Yep.
Any fancy things you noticed or that you did with this bad boy?
Finish on the crank, on the main journals and the rod journals was extremely impressive. In the rods themselves, the machine work done to them, very, very good. We ended up getting a custom set of pistons made for this engine that has vertical gas ports to help promote ring seal at the higher RPMs.
And can you explain to me from a driver, like, is that going to result in more horsepower, less blow by? What is the purpose? I know you see you do it on a lot of drag cars.
So it forces the compression gases and the pressure inside the cylinder down through the piston, through little holes, against the back of the ring, forcing them against the cylinder wall to reduce blow by, so you have higher compression in the engine without it like going past the rings and into your actual engine.
Understood.
Helps keep oil cleaner, helps make more horsepower, helps with a better fuel burn. It's an all-around plus for this type of stuff.
Interesting.
The machine work done by BC, the whole crank, the mains were within 1/10 of each other, which is incredible quality.
How thick's a piece of hair?
Like a human hair roughly is like 2 thousandths to 3 thousandths, and this is 1/10 of a thousandth. Yeah, this is a Honda Journal crankshaft, so it actually uses a very common in high RPM V8 stuff. It's all to reduce rotating mass. So you get a smaller journal, obviously it reduces weight and higher RPM stability, stuff like that.
Interesting.
Wrist pins and the cam followers to get DLC coated to help with friction, and this engine is going to end up being dry sumped, so when you dry sump an engine, it's always a good thing to get the wrist pins DLC'd, because you're creating a vacuum in the crankcase and it's literally sucking oil off of everything, and with high vacuum you can actually suck the oil right off of the wrist pin and cause galling. And
So, Freddie, what's our plan? When do you want to test this bad boy?
Hopefully, like a week and 2 days from now, the Monday after Valentine's Day. So like, Chris and I, mainly Chris, will make love to it on the 14th.
Okay.
You know, like get it ready,
Sweet, sweet love.
and then like get it ready for you, and then hopefully it plays nice.
I mean, that'd be pretty fun. What's the power goal?
So on the dyno, I'll first, start kind of slow, work my way up. I'm pretty much planning to push the new G42 1200 to the limits. So whether make 12, 1300 wheel, turn it up all the way, and then turn it back down, test around maybe 1,000, 1050, 11, and near the end of the day, we'll start turning it up and see like the weak points and, if each the exhaust back pressure goes up, EGTs go up, just kind of find like the limit and then back it down a hair, and then run it at that point or even lower than that.
And are we going to rev to 9 grand on the wet sump?
Yeah. I don't want to, but like it's gonna see dyno time and like one OSW test day.
Yeah.
So if we see oil pressure loss, we'll lower it. But the turbo's gonna come on late, so I want to extend the RPM range higher up, and I don't want to cut you short at well, Dylan Hughes revved his 8800, his wet sump setup, so and his motor's still alive, so I don't think we should have a big issue from that.
And then something else that I don't know if you talked about it. This is only our test engine.
Yeah.
So once we do this, we're tearing it apart immediately after the test day to see if there are any weak points. To go through, check everything we were talking about, checking out bolt stretch, checking bearing clearances, see, make sure everything was good to go, and then we'll build them for the dry sump and stick all that in, and then have that ready for first round. Yep.
Question for you.
Yep.
Where's the old engine?
Outside.
You know what I'm excited about?
Oh,
What?
where that's going.
Yeah.
What car?
Chaser.
Chaser?
Yep.
Yeah.
You ever seen a 1,000 horsepower car with 7 degrees of camber? And a sequential? Get ready for it. I'm gonna go to the stands meets with Mike and leave him in the dust. Thank you guys for bearing with me through what I feel like has been a rough week on the content side. Not exactly the excitement that I want to have in the videos, but there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. I guess I just a lot of times set the bar too high for myself, but I did come home to a very, very, very exciting package the other day. And if you look right here, we have an HKS 2.8 crank. If you guys can guess what car this is for, I'm sure you can guess what car this is for. This thing is going to be getting the real deal. Guys, I'm going to talk about this stuff in a RB specific video. I literally have a PRP block brace for it now in my hands. There's a funny story behind that. You might have seen a little mark on it. We got Sam helped me get the 2.8 crankshaft from HKS Japan. We're gonna have a sick resurrection of the R32. Just waiting on pistons, and then we can get this thing to the machine shop. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you're excited on that thing too. A lot of stuff going on, but I can say with confidence, 2021 is definitely going to be the year of the craziest engines we've ever built. Can you guess what's next?